Listen, man, the guy has been on a roll with this franchise. He has extended the longevity of this IP. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Jet Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. You know what I was thinking about? I should have gotten Charlie on the show for this one, because he saw it, I think he saw it yesterday. I would like to hear his thoughts, because he is, again, a moviegoer. He goes to see everything, this guy. But I saw it Thursday.
Yeah, I think Thursday was the first day it was out.
Actually, no, Brian. I saw it Wednesday.
Oh, look at you.
I saw it Wednesday night. There wasn't a lot of people, but there was certainly those that were there were really excited about seeing this. I don't know how your screening was. How was yours?
I went to see it Friday evening. Screening was pretty full. It was probably like 3/4, 80% full. I was on sort of a large format Dolby screen. I mean, there was some buzz. There was definitely some reaction to points in the movie. I couldn't tell. The audience seemed to be skewing a little bit older, which we'll talk about. I think that's kind of a theme, but I didn't see a lot of kids or young people there. But it was a pretty good turnout, all things considered, especially in my area where usually is so many theaters. It's pretty easy to get a good seat for almost anything.
So what do you want to start with?
Yeah, just your overall impressions of the movie. Dan Trachtenberg directed. He's done 3 Predator movies now, right? He did Prey. He did the animated Predator Killer of Killers, which we both loved. And now first time on the big screen with Predator Badlands.
Listen, man, the guy has been on a roll with this franchise. That's just what it is. And he has extended the longevity of this IP. If you check out our Predator show on why that movie was perfection, we talked about where sort of they missed out on the focus. I mean, they turned the focus into the Predator and made that the franchise. And if you ask us if this IP would last, we will probably say no. And this guy has found a way to sort of keep it going in interesting paths, Brian. So it'll be interesting. This conversation is going to be interesting. I don't want to ramble because I can, but I had a certain expectation of this, and in watching the movie, my thoughts would wander into the future a bit.
Oh, I have a lot of what I think we want to talk about is not just the future of this, but I think the applicability of this to other things we care about. And I want to talk about Dan Trachtenberg himself. So I'm gathering you liked it. You enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely.
So that makes 2 of us. I will say off the bat, pretty decent job of marketing here, because there's a lot that was hidden. This movie retains. Now, we can debate some of the twists and the surprises, because I don't think they all work. But I did like the fact that there's a point in this movie where you realize nothing you see in the promotional material gave away where they wanted to go with this. And that in some ways is a powerful tool to enjoying the ride. But let's start with Trachtenberg. There is clearly, we've seen this before. Every once in a while, there's just this marriage between a certain character or a certain piece of IP or a certain type of movie and a director that just always works. And I think at this point, we have to say with Dan Trachtenberg, he gets the Predatorverse. He gets it in a way that no one else really ever has. Because if you look at the 3 movies that he's made, the thing I give him the most credit for is his imagination. Every one of those 3 movies has swung at something in a different direction, and more often than not, he's landing. So if I think about Prey is effectively the closest thing to a remake of Predator that he's done. He simply pulls on the thread of the pistol at the end of Predator 2. And I want to talk about Predator 2 because it's a funny thing that's happening with this IP. But he basically rewinds the clock and makes Amber Mid-Thunder, the Arnold character, and the Native Americans are sort of a proxy for the team. And that movie beats kind of similarly follow the original. But then I think Trachtenberg wisely realized you can't live like that. And so I think in Killer of Killers is kind of where he has the true epiphany in animated form of, for this to really work, I have to go somewhere else. I have to go to new places, whether that's in history or whether that's in outer space. And Killer of Killers, he does both. And I think we both really enjoy that film because you can break it apart and you can talk about it in vignettes, but there's real originality in that film in terms of what he shows you, some of the set pieces, even in animated form, like the flight chase sequence, for example, with a Predator ship. So then you come to this movie, and when you get to the end of it, like I said, it doesn't all work for me, but I have to just say, I found like there was so much creativity and subversion of expectation, and there was so much homage, like very creatively done homage to the legacy of Schwarzenegger and the Predator, that I was like, this guy just knows this stuff inside and out, and he's able to twist it just enough to where I'm like, this shouldn't work, but I'm actually really enjoying it.
Yeah. I think, who was the guy that played the Predator?
I'm going to butcher his name, but I have it pulled up because it's a long hyphenated name. So Elle Fanning is obviously the two synths, but it's Demetrius Schuster Kolamatangi is playing Dec. He's a New Zealand actor, part Samoan, part Tongan, only 24 years old.
Yeah, he did a phenomenal job. And the sound, Brian, the sound was amazing as well.
Yeah, hold that thought, because there's the atmosphere of this movie is part of what makes it work. But I think you hit on the place that I think is going to go underrated. And this is actually one of those things that made me, in a weird way, think of Arnold, because I think Arnold will never get his due as an actor because the type of acting he was best at wasn't the type of acting that anyone thinks of as true acting. But like we talked about it in our Predator show, he's doing these subtle things with his character in the context of the team, and then opposite the Predator later in the movie, where you're like, this is actually a performance. It's not just this hulking guy, larger than life, running through the jungle. Like, he is actually changing over the course of the film, becoming more primal, becoming more the Predator. And and he does the same thing in Terminator, especially in Terminator 2, where that character humanizes over those 2.5 hours in a way that's very subtle and very effective. And I felt in this part, what Demetrius is doing is really hard because he doesn't speak a single word in English, but through his prosthetics, he has to communicate largely human emotions mixed with sort of true Yautja code, and be kind of both a fearing runt prey, which he is at times, and this fearsome, formidable warrior. It's not easy. Like, that is not an easy thing to do and have it actually connect with an audience on an emotional level, but I actually think he gets there.
Yeah,
like, you're pretty invested in him by the end of this movie.
Yes, you are. Do you want to now talk about sort of the environment, the planet that he was on?
I do, because I think the number one thing to me that makes this movie work for me, and the points that I enjoy it the most, are Trachtenberg saying, if I'm going to go off-world, I want everything about this to be alien to you. And I was like, kudos to you, man, because so many people, it's so many different IPs and genres, will either bring something back to Earth unnecessarily, or they will go to another planet and it'll be like, wait, that's just like the forest in the west coast of the US. Like, and you're just like, you don't feel like you ever left. Every place you go here feels like a place you've never been before. And I love that.
That is why Avatar was what it was. Everywhere we went was somewhere new, something new to look at. This place didn't remind you of nothing else but where you were at. And that was what I was looking for when I was watching this. And while I was watching this, I was imagining that. And that, my friends, what we're going to be talking about. We'll talk about it and sprinkle it in a little bit later.
Once we left Yautja Prime and we go to this Genna, it's such a smart move. And this will be a spoiler show, so get ready for that. But the second he lands in the jungle, that first sequence to me is perfect. Because it's like he goes in there being told this is a scary place. But he goes in there confident, man. He's got his technology, he's got his skills. And yeah, he's young, but like he's hungry. And so you see him getting all this gear out. And then he literally gets attacked by the forest itself. And I was like, the second that happened, I was like, that's cool. Yes. I did not see that coming. The forest itself steals his gear. And now he's basically on his own, other than his cool sword. And I was like, already I felt like I was not in the Amazon. I was not in, like I said, I was not in the redwoods. I was in a new place.
I like that in each place that he wandered off into presented itself an obstacle that seemingly looks quite difficult to overcome. And you know what kept sticking with me? You give up too easily.
I think that's what he says that. He says that to Elle Fanning's character.
Yes, and that stuck with me. So I like that they were able to present that sort of formidable obstacle, and we're there to witness how he does it. So that was dope.
I even could have done with more of it. I would say my favorite parts, one of my favorite parts of this movie, maybe the favorite part, is that sequence. From the moment he lands on the planet until he reaches the Kalisk. It's like, it felt like a really cool video game. Like each stage was a board with different challenges and obstacles, and like every little thing looks innocent, but then you have a sense of like, oh, that's not good for him. And then you see like where the poison darts come out and all, like, and I was like, I love that Trachtenberg made the planet itself like this living, breathing monster that is then filled with these additional monsters, which, to his credit, for the most part, don't really look like creatures you've seen before. Like that blob insect octopus thing they're fighting, I was like, that just looks cool to me because I've never seen anything like that. So 10 out of 10 for imagination of like, if you're going to make something alien, make it freaking alien and different.
Yes. And interesting. Yes. I
wanted to ask you about the Predator as a humanized character, because that's in order for this movie to really work, you have to buy into this window into the code, the culture, and the family dynamic that you're given at the beginning. I will say it was a little jarring at first. I was a little bit like, and I knew it was coming from the promotional material. We knew he was going to be the protagonist, and therefore he would have to have more human qualities. What did you think of the initial kind of setup of this, the two brothers, the father, the way this Yautja culture is supposed to work, and how it kind of launches us into Deck as our character? Because it's a risk, right? This is a risk to do this with a character like that.
You think about that first scene where he witnesses what happened to his brother. You definitely see the connection that him and his brother have. So he loses that instantaneously through, what his father did to his brother right in front of him, and there was nothing he could do about it. And that scene, you could hear the anguish, and it was really well done. What happens after that, possibly, if he is not sent? Because his father was going to get him too, right?
Oh, yeah. His father was going to kill him first, or his father was going to make the brother kill him.
Yeah.
And then I get the sense the father was going to do it himself, because he said, remember, the clan can't, he basically was like, this guy is the sign of weakness. We can't have that visible.
Yeah. So whatever culture he was supposed to experience right after that, or whatever, let's say he survived that and he saw his mother. I mean, there's still a lot of interesting things there, right? Because we
we'll
still
get to
have
the mom.
Yes,
I don't get the
yes.
sense. I don't get the sense that Mama Bear is actually any more friendly than Papa Bear in this culture.
So it'll be very interesting. But he's broken away from that culture when he lands in this new place, and he starts to sort of. I love the way they did that communication tool that they use, where whatever she speaks, almost like the Galactus thing. When wherever Galactus lands, the population sees him as them. So it was like a universal figure, but this one was a universal language that translated into anything. I love the way they did that.
And by the way, let's just stay on that point. This movie is worse if Deck speaks in English. It absolutely is not good.
Oh yeah.
It is one of the best decisions Trachtenberg makes is that he does put this little plot device in for like why we can understand Elle Fanning, but the Yautja can understand her at the same time. If Demetrius starts speaking in English, it'll take me out of it. Like,
yes.
Because they're already humanizing this character like way beyond what should be possible.
Yeah.
If they just start talking and because he's wisecracking a little bit, right? With a little Kalisk, he starts telling little joke like, "Oh, and your legs." Like he starts messing with her. If that's delivered in English, it's gonna feel really out of place.
He's the Kevin Hart of the Predators.
So I'm just saying, like, I think it's one of those like creative decisions where I'm sure Trachtenberg probably did a test drive of like, here, deliver the line in English. Let's hear it. And I'll bet you he was like, this has to stay foreign. It has to stay subtitled for this to work. And he's 100% right. The movie. Yeah. The character holds because it doesn't speak English, and what we understand what he's doing. The Kevin Hart piece. The other piece that's a 10 out of 10, and I think is a big part of why the movie works. Deck is small.
Yes.
This is something that like is one of those basic at the end. I got to go back to it at the end of Predator 2. Because remember, Predator, you don't get. We talked about how brilliant the movie is, but you get no predator culture. You just know it's a creature there to hunt. Mm-hmm. All of the world building, as we talked about, is on the team side. Mm-hmm. Predator 2, that final scene has actually become the true fulcrum of this entire universe, if you think about it.
Okay.
Because in that moment, in the ship, is when the other predators appear. And when you first see the wall of trophies and you see the pistol, everything about this IP has grown from Predator 2, not Predator 1. And I think that's such a fascinating twist. But in Predator 2, what do you see? The predators are different sizes. If you watch when they come out of the cloak, some are gigantic, some are small. If Deck is the size of Kevin Peter Hall, this movie is also not as good.
Yeah.
Kevin Peter Hall was larger than life, bigger than Schwarzenegger, 7 feet tall. He's jumping from rock to rock. He looks unstoppable. You have to think that this guy's the underdog, and he looks the part because he's so small.
Yeah.
And so the Kevin Hart of it is true. Like being small is a very simple change that makes this part of what makes this movie work. Yeah. Small but fearless, right? He thinks he's big. Like the way he acts, he thinks he's just as big. But physically, he's not able to do some of the things that the more elite predators can do.
At least we don't know yet, because what we've seen him fight is just his brother.
Yes. No, at the end, yes. But at the beginning, no. At the beginning, he is very much an underdog. But you're right. That first scene, there were moments where I was like, I don't know about this. Like when he's banging on the glass of the ship, and I'm like, this is definitely like a moment of human anguish between these two brothers. And the movie is trying to basically say, look, whatever the culture, family bonds are family bonds. And what you're being introduced to is just like family hierarchies are different for the Yautja than they are for the human, but the love between brothers is kind of the same. I get it, but I felt like I was like, wow, this is really he's pushing it. Like he's pushing me closer. Like, is this going to work for 2 hours? And then it kind of does, like improbably.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. Like that's what I mean. That should not probably work the way it does. But it got me more invested when he's fired off into space. That like he's grieving and mourning his brother and seeking revenge on his father.
Yo, there's a huge possibility. I don't mean to skip over what the rest of the discussion, but like you could do games from this now, yo.
Yes, sir, you can. I told you that this whole first part of the movie plays like a video. I mean, the movie plays like a video game.
Yeah.
Bosses, right? Boss fights, like absolutely. Yeah. You could just do a video game of this.
What else, right?
What do you think of Elle Fanning? Both versions. Like the choice, the style with which she plays the characters, and like, because this movie, again, this is a huge choice, right? You cannot have this movie work if that character somehow doesn't do the thing you need it to do.
Yeah. I didn't mind her, Brian. I didn't mind the different roles she played. It was a fine performance. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, he didn't. It was just a good. It fit the movie and what we were watching, so it was a good performance by her.
Yeah, it's a bet though, again, by Trachtenberg, that like having this kind of almost jarring, clear, happy-go-lucky synth voice as your narrator is going to add to the experience and not become annoying. As I think, a lot of Star Wars fans would say, like C-3PO in his worst moments gets pretty annoying, right? It's also interesting in the legacy of Alien, because obviously she's from the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. The synths have become the thing, right? Alien Earth, the entire TV series is based upon synth culture, right? So you've had Timothy
Halo,
Olyphant
Cortana.
now. Yeah, exactly. And then Fassbender obviously was David in the later Ridley Scott movies, and Lance Henriksen was Bishop in Alien. Like that role has actually been critical to the Aliens IP. And so they bring it in via Elle Fanning in two ways. I will say this, I wanted more Tessa because I liked what they were setting up in terms of, hey, there's the brotherly love that was torn apart, and there's the sisterly not love. They think it's love. It's like that was torn apart. But Tessa was being set up as like the Terminator. And I kind of feel like we didn't get all the way there in terms of what she could be as a villain. So I wanted a little more there. But I thought Elle Fanning was a pretty good choice in the end, an unlikely good choice to play this sort of side-kicking part.
Yeah.
Now I got to ask you, because this was the one when I was watching it, I was like, how is Pablo going to feel about this? And was it too much? And that's Bud. How do you feel about Bud?
I didn't mind Bud, yo.
That's interesting. Because there's a little bit of like, watch it with the baby Grogu stuff, right? The second he shows up, you kind of know that that's who he is.
Yeah. But I didn't mind because he proved to be useful in moments, and he does what any, I think, child would do, and it's mimic whom he admires and plays that role. So I didn't mind it. I didn't mind that plot device.
I think it does add to the movie. People were laughing at Bud, so it was working in that sense. I do think I liked the scene when they're making the campfire. I did think that was humorous, where he's mimicking his every move. I thought that was actually pretty well done and pretty representative of, like, again, what a little kid would do, right, in that situation. I do think they make a wise decision to leave Bud behind. I remember the second that he leaves Bud behind, I was like, this is a good idea for this movie.
Yeah.
Because if Bud is there,
for what happens next, yes.
Because if Bud is there the whole 2 hours, I think it would maybe start to get a little old.
Yeah.
But by not having Bud be in the movie for like 40 minutes and then having a little twist reveal who Bud really is, I think it works a little better. To where then in the final act, when Bud has a bigger part to play, you're not like over-budded by that point. He can do some of his funny gimmick, like when he comes out wearing the little cloak and the jacket, it doesn't feel like too much. And then fortunately, they kind of do the Groot thing, right? Where Bud quickly grows. So that kind of helps too, where it's not really the same character. Memo to Mando and Grogu. You need to let Grogu grow a little bit sometime. So Bud changes, right, by the end of this movie. So I thought that was fine. Or at least better than I would have feared. Because that was definitely a PG-13 plot device to bring in a wider audience, and it kind of is more successful than not. All right, now let me ask you about the Weyland-Yutani stuff. So this is the like Predator Alien universe crossover. This is the same corporation. This is where the movie really takes a turn, right? It stops being a jungle hunt and becomes Deck is the fish out of water against this corporate takeover that is also hunting the callous. Like, how did this whole section and idea of the story work for you?
I think it continues to sort of create the stage for future possibilities in storytelling. And Brian, this is what Star Wars needs.
Oh, yes. This movie is a very good template for several IPs, I would argue. Star Wars is one of them.
They're establishing stuff here.
Yes.
So that's what makes it. They're starting from, not necessarily starting from the beginning, but I don't know what to, obviously this is way, 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 way into the future, correct?
We're not told that, but presumably yes.
Because of Whaling Industries, where does Whaling Industries preside, right?
Yeah,
What
but
is
we
it?
don't know way of the future. I guess relative to the events of like Alien or Aliens, I don't think we know for sure whether this is before or after that.
Okay.
So like they wisely do not reference the xenomorph in this movie, but like we don't know if the xenomorph has been discovered yet.
Got it.
It was probably my least favorite part of the movie, to be quite honest. And the only reason I say that is because I was enjoying my time in the jungle and on this planet so much that it felt a little more conventional to be pulled into, here's the corporation side that I'm familiar with, and we got to open up this universe toward aliens. I think I would have preferred, I was trying to think of how I might have done it a little differently. I think I said I would have preferred a little more hunt for the Callisk. And I thought the battle with the Callisk was very cool. I could have done with a little more of that, quite honestly.
With a little bit more hunting strategy.
Correct.
And how he was,
as opposed to just in the one campground area. I wouldn't have minded them fight, kind of hunting each other through the jungle. And as a result, when we get to he's imprisoned by the synths, does like a prison break, and then they bring in the loader that Ripley drove at the end of Aliens as a way for Elle Fanning to fight him and fight the Callisk. I was like, that felt a little on the nose to me. That was probably my least favorite of the set pieces. What I liked and what I wanted a little more of was Tessa was assimilating the Predator technology. I wanted a little more of that. I wanted to see her using the shoulder cannon, using the mask, like hunting him with his own tech. I actually was like, can we do that in the jungle a little bit? I thought would have been a little more fun, but I understand why he did it. It just wasn't my favorite set piece, that piece of it, that showdown of like robot loader versus giant Callisk versus Predator. I kind of was like, I don't know that I need a Godzilla Kong kaiju fight in this movie. It looks pretty good, I will say that. It's entertaining. I just don't know that it like was my favorite part. What I did like, and I think you like this too, one of my favorite, like made me smile, made me chuckle, was he finally paid homage to Arnold in the third act. Because when Dex starts using the planet's local stuff, camouflaging himself, setting up his traps, I'm like,
yes,
this guy understood that was Arnold in the jungle adapting to fight the Predator. This is Deck adapting to Genna to fight the corporation. I'm like, that was super cool.
Yes, they definitely paid homage. I can see it throughout the movie. Did you see the waterfall scene?
Absolutely. I was like, that looks like the same waterfall.
Yes. I was like, you see, this guy saw Predator and appreciates it just like we do, yo.
Because he's kneeling in the spot. There? He's kneeling in the spot where it looks like Dutch crawled out and was starting to get covered in the mud. I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. But I thought that was a brilliant homage. I really liked when he's on his knees and then he has these guys completely trapped and he sets off. It pays off the earlier thing with the poison darts and the bombs where, it pays off that why they showed you that was then he would come back around and use it.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that almost Rambo / original Predator style hunt of these synths at the end. And I also like that, yes, they use Bud and they use the Callisk to help, but they don't overuse it. They don't use that as a get out of jail free card all the time. So I was okay with it. Like I said, didn't love. I thought it was a little too much Weyland-Yutani, but I was okay with the final set piece. I thought was actually pretty enjoyable. So,
what did you think about the music?
Music and sound were great. So they did sort of like an electronification of almost like native song and drums. They kept it distinct enough from the Alan Silvestri original score. They didn't really try to play back to that. Sarah Schnachter and Benjamin Wallfish were the composers. But on the Dolby screen, it was really rocking the bass. I really like some of the notes, beats, kind of drums underneath. So no, this was definitely one where sound was additive. And I will say, like, Predator's sound has always been kind of cool. Like when he shoots his laser cannon, when he cloaks and uncloaks, there's always been these like little sounds the Predator uses and makes. Or that little whatever it is sound. Like, yeah. So this IP has always had good sound. So this movie had fun sounds for me.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the ending?
Okay.
Well, I'm going to spoil the ending. So
Okay.
I struggled with this after the movie. What did you think about the bring it back around revenge moment and that scene that sets up the sequel?
It reminds me when I think about it right now, like, because you asked me a specific question about that final battle.
And then the arrival of his mom. Yeah.
He fought his older son a little bit, right? In the beginning, right?
In the cave.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, he's overmatched in the cave, yeah.
Yes. I think because of what makes Deck a bit more unique in his fighting abilities is coming back from a situation where he's fighting different things. So it gives him a little bit of more instincts when he comes back to fight his father. So probably has a little bit of a leg up in that regard.
I struggle with this. On the one hand, I think if you're Dan Trachtenberg, this is not the kind of movie where you can assume there'll be a sequel. You can set one up, but you can't assume it, right? This is a $100 million budgeted movie. We'll talk about box office. It looks like it's going to be successful, but this is not a $1 billion movie. So I understand the circular need to say, look, we started this movie with a family dynamic gone wrong, and we have to complete that arc of sort of son coming back to the father. But I will say, as effective as this movie turned out to be, there is a part of me that feels like the movie might have been better served to simply end with the promise of him going home versus him actually going home. And I want to make the case that I actually wondered, because there's some stuff in the final, because part of the message of the final scene is he has adapted so well and developed this new team that he's out-predatored the predator culture, right? So he comes back, he's this is the when I left you, I was but the learner, now I am the master moment, where he's much better than his dad. And the average Yautja, despite him being smaller, to which his dad says maybe the right son did survive. There's a part of me that was like, there's a whole movie there that you could have done that might have been a better second part of him coming back with his team to hunt, right? And build up the fight with the father.
They could have dragged that out to the very end of the next movie.
That was what I thought. And I was like, I almost felt like I got robbed a little bit of a movie I actually found, shockingly, I wanted to see, which was him returning home with the Kalisk and Thea as his crew to fight his way through other Yautja to get to his dad. And I kind of was like, I understand why you skipped that part, because you might have thought you only get one movie. But I kind of was like, I kind of wish I could have seen that, especially in Dan Trachtenberg's hands, because they've been such good hands.
Yeah, too soon. That means that this next iteration better be, in terms of what his end goal is for this, better be good. It can't end like this. We can't get another ending like this. Again, I guess what we're trying to say here, that final scene was, it wasn't like Dune when he fought the other guy.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No. And I think the challenge for Trachtenberg, as good as he's been, is again, can you, with the mom's arrival, can you reinvent another time? Like, what new direction can you find for these characters in this IP that you don't feel like you are rehashing? Because he's done a very good job of paying homage, but not rehashing. And so how long can you keep that going? I mean, I'll be there for it. Whatever he wants to do next in this IP, I will immediately watch it. He's earned that credibility. You go 3 for 3 in 3 different styles. I will show up for 4, but I will be curious to see what other subversions he can possibly think of for the next go. The movie's done well. So this movie was supposed to open to $25 million in the US. It's now opening to at least 39.
So you said the budget was like $100 million.
$100 million budget. It's going to 39, 40 US. So then you figure global, probably like 80, 90, somewhere around that area. So this should clear, 250 to 300. So they'll make money on it. It's, it's a pretty surprise hit for the fall. Not mega, but certainly enough to justify a sequel. And it's getting, what's notable is is the best opening weekend for any movie in the Predator IP. And the A- cinema score is the best score that any Predator movie has ever received, including the original, which I thought was, I don't know what audiences were thinking in 1987, but the A- is the highest. So people like this movie. Critics like this movie. Critics have liked all of his movies in regard to the Predator. So this is a hit. Like, this is a hit, and it's kind of a soft box office time. I mean, they'll get Running Man next weekend, but you got the family stuff like Zootopia and Wicked for Thanksgiving, and then everyone's clearing out for Avatar around Christmas. So this could definitely have a niche where it has a nice little run here, and has really proven to justify the decision to put it into theaters this go around.
Were there conversations of it going into streaming only?
I think just because Prey was streaming only. Remember Prey? I think when I saw Prey, I was like, why didn't they put this in the theater?
Yeah.
But I think it was a lack of confidence in the Predator IP at the time.
So you think this ends up around 200, 250?
I think 250 safely it'll make, maybe 300 if it's got more staying power. But yeah, again, it's going to be a profitable. And I think, the other thing to say is, granted, there's not a lot of money spent on the cast here, which is part of what makes it affordable. But, it's not a perfect CGI movie, but at $100 million budget, it looks fine to me. It looks fine. Again, it's just when you start looking around at like Marvel and some of this $250 million stuff, where you're like, what are you guys doing with the money? Because you got this guy at 100, you got Gareth Edwards often at like 100 or 70. Like, why are they making CGI heavy films that look much better than movies that cost 2 and 3 times as much?
Out of 5.
I'm going to give it a very strong 3.5. I'm going to say it's like a 3.5 with 4-star elements. I think the Weyland-Yutani, some of that stuff kind of holds it back a little bit for me. But I think I would have gone into this movie feeling like this should be like a 2-star movie, and he makes it into a 3.5-star movie with his imagination.
Just because that last that final battle, to quote Frank Langella in Masters of the Universe, there was opportunity there to sort of see that journey back and have him sort of having to hunt him down, so to speak, on Predator, either having to face multiple Predators, whatever the case may be. It would have just been interesting to possibly understand or look at to see how that looks, to get more terrain similar. I mean, we got a lot of terrain in this new planet. It would have been interesting to see what the terrain is on the Predator planet as well. One last thing before we close this one out, Brian. Were you thinking about Masters in the Universe?
Yes. So I thought about multiple IPs, but absolutely I was thinking about Eternia while watching this planet and wanting just that same feeling of transportation, of just even the scenic backdrop shots, which are CGI, where he's just walking along and you just see these like weird shapes in the distance that he doesn't bother explaining. I was like, well done, man. You see like, there's like the one in this where you clearly see like part of the landscape is moving and he never bothers to explain what that is.
Yeah.
But you're like, that looks cool. Like everything about that was, I thought, a really good lesson for Star Wars, for Masters of the Universe, of like, if you're going to, and for Star Trek, because that's getting rebooted, if you're going to go to other planets, you have to imagine them as other planets. You can't imagine them as variants of Earth. And so I really enjoyed that. Yes, I was thinking about Eternia 100%. I was also thinking about lessons for, like, a really basic lesson for, I was thinking about X-Men, actually. Because this to me was a great example of perspective. This movie said, we are going to tell the story from the perspective of the Predator. And we're going to give that meaning. We're going to take a character that historically has been a villain, and we're going to clearly make it heroic and sympathetic and make you buy in. And yet I can imagine this movie also from the perspective of the synths as well, if you wanted to do it that way, right? And so again, I think about that in the context of the X-Men, because we saw it done well with X-Men 97. And I keep coming back to, like, if one of the ways into this for me is to put Magneto at the center and tell a story through Magneto's eyes and get you to buy into Magneto.
And if you went to the Savage Land, that would be a good template of what it would look like.
Absolutely. And get you to almost come into this universe on the reverse side and then feel almost uncomfortable when you realize and you know that you have to ultimately root for X and the X-Men. I just was watching this being like, you can do it. Like, you can do it. This guy is taking a character that, you know, used to be basically like a Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees in the jungle type of character, and he's now made him into this underdog, almost Rocky Balboa style hero on an alien world. Like, you can tell those type of stories. And I would encourage established IPs to do things like that. Star Wars could do the same.
Okay.
You know, you could definitely take a Sith or conflicted character and not like the Acolyte did it, but like make it like a protagonist who's very neutral, morally ambiguous, like, you know, far more so than the Mandalorian. And like, you could tell a story like that. I just think like there's not enough time spent on exploring how to do things like that. And this movie tried it.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know in the comment section below if you got a chance to check out Badlands, Predator Badlands. Brian, anything else before we wrap this one up?
No, other than, yeah, it was a really pleasant, surprising time of the movies. And I guess, here's one. Who is the first of the other major IPs to call Dan Trachtenberg to do some work for them? He clearly owns this IP.
Yeah.
The question is, can he do that?
With
Marvel, DC, Star Wars. Is there a piece of this landscape that you would like to see him try his hand? I had one.
Which one?
Blade.
Oh. Okay, yeah, because monsters, yeah, different, yeah. I can see that.
Because they're struggling, right? They're struggling, but I was like, this guy. The other reason I thought Blade is because there's a few hero shots in this film, and all the ones he's done that I like. Like when he throws the sword slow-mo and cuts that one beast in half and is holding it apart, I was like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see from those type of characters, right? The sort of those like spontaneous action moments where you're like, this guy is the baddest mother, like that. And that's what Blade is to me always, right? And so I don't know, I don't know why I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, why not? Let's give this guy a shot to do something different with Blade and see what happens. Now I'm Mahershala though. Now I'm Mahershala. Like total start over. Total reset.
Yeah. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys thought of Badlands. Remember to hit that like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the Nerd Gen Report.